Yo, dude.
David Lee Scales.
How are you?
Man, I haven't been sick in so long. I forgot how it feels. When was the last time you were sick?
It's been a very long time for me also.
I totally forgot how it feels to be sick.
Is it awful?
It's just weird. It feels totally foreign.
Sorry.
That's okay. I get to experience something new for the first time again.
Through sickness and in health, here we are.
Yep. We nothing but nothing will stop the march of the Grit podcast.
Exactly. Can I open with a listener call?
Let's please.
Okay. Let me find it.
I don't go to work when the waves are good. Ooh, I don't go to work when the waves are good. Oh, I don't mean to be a dick, but the wind just shifted. I got a split, and I don't go to work when the waves are good. See ya. I don't mean to be. I like the coconut smell in my wax. Do-do-do. I like the coconut smell in my wax. Do-do-do. Down at the beach, looking at the butt cheeks. Daddy's gonna purr, but daddy's gonna spur for coconuts. I like the smell in my wax. Yeah. Daddy's gonna coconut. I like the smell in my wax.
All right, Chaz, welcome to the Grid. It's March 3rd, 2022.
High art right there. We opened with a potential Grammy winner.
You think that's the same dude who gave us the Salad Days remix?
It could have been. Like,
And
the voice sounded a bit different though.
I don't remember that guy's voice. I would need to look. The caller ID always comes through, not with names, but with numbers.
Yep.
I need to go back and look to track the numbers.
That's a fine song though. How do you think he was sober or drunk?
Definitely not sober. And the other thing is he called in after that, like on a different day, with some long diatribe about Idolo Ferreira, and it was 5:30 in the morning.
Oh yeah.
And it was high energy too, just like like crazy intensity. I couldn't quite follow what he was trying to say, which is why I'm not going to play the call. But I was like, it's 5:30 in the morning. What the heck, dude?
Well, the waves were bad, so he was going to work.
Yeah, exactly. The things that we get on the listener line, I have calls coming through every single day. I only obviously play 3 or 4 a show, but it's like a lot of them I don't play for you guys, and you should thank me.
Is it a treasure?
It is kind of, but now it's almost become an additional workload. Like I used to look forward to it because there still are really good calls, but some of them I'm just like, what the heck? He's just literally called. That was 2 different calls I just played, but I stitched them together. He just called in and gave me a 30-second song one day, and then later calls back. He still got it in his head, but he added new lyrics. So he calls back and gives it again.
Oh, it's really good stuff.
It's quite the joy. Well, Chaz, through sickness and in health, you are here with us.
Always.
What's wrong today?
Just an average cold, I think. The daughter had it, and she's one of those ones who like really, I'm always proud of the people who play through sickness, who don't just like woe is me and moan in bed. And she's really one of those. Like, she will grind it out until she can't grind anymore. And so when she ended up in bed all day one day, I thought, kept testing her for the COVID, of course, and negative. So it wasn't that. I didn't even think about the possibility of me getting it, but woke up yesterday and thought, times 2. Here I go. So yeah, feeling rough.
Did you spend the day in bed?
No, I taught the Noble Savages all day.
Jeez.
Yeah. And then today I've got a full work day.
Is it even an option to spend the day in bed for you?
No. I mean,
I know.
That's the dang thing. I don't know that does it even make you better? Like, does rest actually make you better?
Definitely.
You think so? You don't think just like playing through?
I wasn't sick, but 2 nights ago, the little boy slept for 11 hours throughout the night, and we kind of needed it desperately at that moment. and I woke up feeling like a brand new human being, you know?
I hear you. I hear you that a good night's sleep can be transformative, but I don't know necessarily that staying in bed all day and pampering yourself when sick leads to any quicker healing.
I think so. There is a fine line. We discussed it with Jamie Brisick a little bit, where too much self-indulgence or coddling and or self-loathing has the reverse effect.
Yep.
So you really, yeah, you can get restorative rest, but you can also go overboard and just start feeling crappy again, oversleep, you know?
Being lazy. Yep. I'm excited to get on today's work. That's why I'm bright and early on the podcast.
Well, I've got, for a guy who loves headlines and gives us some great ones, I have the best headline of potentially the last 5 years for you right now.
I can't wait to hear it. I can't wait to hear it.
Quote, Vladimir Putin unites the world.
Oh, what a great headline.
It's simple, succinct, to the point. It leaves out the obvious detail, which is they're united against him. But I think that, yeah, that's obvious. So you don't need that in there.
But it's sort of beautiful that it leaves open the possibility that he's uniting them just out of the goodness of his heart.
Altruistically, he's taken the fall.
Exactly. He knew the world was divided. All this talk about division, red and blue states, trouble everywhere, COVID versus anti-COVID folk. He said, you know, what this world needs is uniting. I'm the great uniter.
Crazy. Never would have expected that headline of any of the I mean, we've had some crazy headlines in the last 2 or 3 years. That is the craziest of them all. And it's actually true.
It's true. It is true. The world is united.
In all these other scenarios, there's been 2 sides to every story. This is one news story where it's like not a single person has spoken up in support of Russia.
Oh man. Uh-oh. I'm going to do that right now.
Oh, man, if we haven't been canceled up until now, I thought we were uncancelable, but this might do it.
I mean, let's just be honest here. Let's be real frank.
I'm going to segue. Unless you really do have something.
I mean, I sort of do. He was goaded into it. The NATO gave him no choice but to do it. And then everybody's like wagging their tongues.
Who's the new writer on Beachgrip? John Kennedy that I've seen.
Oh yeah, I don't know. I need to look him up.
You don't know either?
No.
Well, did he
write about Putin?
No, he didn't. I was officially segueing. I thought I got away with it for a second.
But real quick, just for our listeners, remember the Bay of Pigs?
Nope, sure don't.
Back to Kennedy. This is a perfect segue. I'm going to raise your segue a segue. Bay of Pigs was when Soviet Union tried to put missiles in Cuba, right?
Mm-hmm.
U.S. Kennedy said, not my backyard, and big standoff, etc. Messy Bay of Pigs, etc., etc., etc. Then we had, Bay of Pigs was a whole different thing, or related. Anyhow, nobody wants missiles in their backyard. Ukraine is Russia's backyard. I'll leave it at that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that then.
Kennedy,
John Kennedy posted 2 articles on Beachgrip today, or within the last 24 hours, I'd say. And yeah, they look good. I didn't read them. I was prepping for today's show and I saw them and I thought maybe you would have some insights into them, but I'll get on that later today. Welcome. Welcome to the fold. You want to hear listener feedback?
Yes, I do.
All right. Hey, David Lee and Chaz, as one of your 4 female listeners, I would like to commend you on your last 2 episodes. This actually came through a week or 2 ago, so it was probably 3 or 4 episodes ago. But I absolutely loved listening to you talk about the Women's World Tour. This was right after Pipeline. Bulldozing down the wall of positive noise by encouraging another Tati/Moana smackdown was amazing. They totally missed the opportunity for Tati to pull on her black wetsuit as her fellow Kauaian did back in the day and battle Moana wearing white. Tati is my favorite surfer on the women's side because she gets into fights on the beach, rips in big waves, and will fearlessly take on any wild card or vet on tour. Tati encapsulates the scrappiness that it takes to be a girl shortboarder. We all wish we could rip and be genuinely nice like Carissa, but instead we find ourselves screaming at someone in the lineup for getting in our way because we are in anger rage after changing birth control pills because our husband won't get a vasectomy. Just kidding. Just kidding. That didn't happen to me. Just one of my close friends. Anyways, if you're a female shortboarder and you actually get waves and you're a scrapper, or you have a dad or boyfriend blocking for you, if you are the second, then you know who you are and you know what it was to be aggressively cut off by a dude last year. Sorry, this is kind of all running together. A little spat on the beach is probably just the tip of the iceberg for the women's tour. Do you think that Tati feels pressure from the WSL or sponsors to keep a squeaky clean image? Or do you think that some women on tour dial down the drama due to expectations from the WSL to keep things kind of girl power? Also, daring to question the Goliaths in the sports such as Jessie Miley Dyer or Tyler Wright was much appreciated. I loved how concerned you were with being respectful towards Tyler while discussing her constant complaining and distaste for her turns. In a world of cancel culture, your humor will be what gets us through. I mean, when Chaz said that he wanted Tyler Wright to call in and comment on vasectomies, I almost spit out my coffee all over my windshield. Brava, keep up the good work. Nolani on the big island of Hawaii.
Well, thank you so much for the note. And yeah, regarding the I think the girl power thing, I just think the WSL, they don't know how to tell stories, right? That's why the WSL studios got canceled. They could have looked at this whole thing. They're on the guys' side too, but said, hey, we're going to tell compelling, true stories. But no, they chose to tell fake stories. And so I'm sure that Tati, I think being a villain, very few people want that, right? I think especially pro athletes. But
totally.
The World Surf League should create an environment where, hey, one of you guys we can't just have everyone be good guys here. One of you guys has to rise up. And that's why Andy and Kelly, we still talk about it with crazy reverence, is because we had a theoretical good guy and a theoretical bad guy, right? Or two, I won't even say good or bad, just two diametrically opposed personalities or personality types that though, you know, people could coalesce around and coalesce around and feel themselves in that, right? Where they could have easily pushed that on the girls' side. And
yeah,
they had kind of a natural one or a way natural one and let it go.
When we say villain, we're not saying invading a neighboring country villain, you know, or stealing the other person's secrets or whatever. This version of villain, like the Andy villain, was just contrary to what we had known to be a professional surfer or known to be a competitive or athletic surfer for the years that came before. And so WSL doesn't need to brand them that way. All that they need to do is have the commentators speak openly and honestly about these people's personalities. And so if one of the commentators in the booth just said, hey, remember last year when these two girls got into a fight on the beach? And it looked like Tati was the one who was in the wrong in that moment. And Moana kind of gave her a dressing down. Let's see where that battle picks up now. That's enough, because then everybody starts talking about it outside. The WSL isn't creating the narrative. They're just commenting on what's happening. All of us outside of the WSL then run with it. And then the two athletes have a decision for how they want to lean into it or not. And ultimately, I think Tati would be wise to do exactly what our listener said and just kind of like own it. Like, hey, I'm from this island where this is culturally part of our legacy. We've got Andy Irons, we've got Dustin Barca, we've got the Wolf Pack. You know, this is part of who I grew up around and how I've learned to operate. And so, yeah, this is how I operate in the world. All she has to do is lean into it. And then she becomes singular now. Now she stands apart from everybody else on tour. And then next time commentators are in the booth, that's part of the narrative. That's part of the storyline.
I mean, again, it makes perfect sense to me. also, again, it's why WSL Studios cratered, right? And is going to continue. Like their broadcast will now that they're out of the content game, their broadcast will continue to suffer, I think, from just a lack of any storyline other than kind of they'll lean into a competitive storyline in terms of, you know, this athlete has beat this athlete at this wave, but that's as deep as it goes.
How crazy is it though that they set up these storylines of we're going to put a wild card into an event. Why would you possibly do that? Well, it's because the greatest possible thing to happen would be this underdog taking down the world champs. Then it actually happens. Now you've got this wild card sitting on the throne, and then they don't invite them into Europe.
The Moana Jones Wong. I mean, sorry. Yeah, Jones Wong.
Jones Wong.
Jones Wong. Yeah, it's really dang confusing, this one. Is, for the life of me, I cannot and do not understand how she did not get a invite. I got it. Somebody, who was it? Somebody great, a surf photographer. I think Eric Ippel. You know Eric Ippel?
Know of.
Yeah, legendary surf photographer, called me up and said she, I think, was expecting it. And then the draw had just gotten released and she wasn't on it. And he wasn't actually sure if she was not, or if he was reading the draw wrong or whatever. So look into it. This is a couple days ago. Or a couple weeks ago, I guess now, week ago, something.
Yeah.
Time ago. So I did a classic quick story, right? Thinking, I don't even know if I'm right here. Maybe she is there. The fact that she wasn't actually shocked me too, even after writing the story, thinking, wait, you're really not going to invite the number 3 surfer in the world? Of course, you got to have Tia Blanco or whatever in there for her. But how many wild cards is Tia Blanco guaranteed from Ultimate
3.
Surfer? And so
3.
Pick some other way. I'm sorry about it. Like, you got to allow Moana to continue to vie for the title, right? If she blows it my argument would be if she blows it in Portugal, she doesn't have to come back anymore, right? Invite her to Tahiti maybe, or some other heavy wave, see what she does. But if she totally scrubs it in Portugal, then okay, she had her chance. But not to give her a chance is, I literally don't understand.
It's stepping on their own toes. They created this scenario where we all now know and love Moana. She won the first event of the year. This is their dream scenario. So they've put this thing up front and center for all of us to follow and push for and root for, and then just pulled her aside. And Jesse Miley Dyer's quote regarding why Tia's taking that wild card spot was, Tia's wild cards were decided in collaboration with our general partners in looking through our different sponsor commitments. She will have the wild cards at J-Bay, El Salvador, and Portugal. So this was decided probably before the Moana story developed. But this also shows to me like the really diffused lack of focus of the tour. By having a reality show that could undercut the main product, which is the world tour, is problematic. And then, so you have to then prioritize those if you're the business and say, yeah, we do owe her 3 wildcards, but we're now going to pivot. We are going to adjust because we're running with this storyline that is kind of the most important storyline of the season.
And I guarantee whatever sponsors, were involved in where they wanted Tia Blanco to be, I'm sure clearly it would have been Tia sponsors, would have been happy if the WSL would have said, hey, we're going to give you some extra, airtime or whatever, because we got to just slot Moana here. We'll get, Tia's obviously going to we'll honor those 3, et cetera, but like, I'm sure like just a corpo speak reaction from Jesse Miley is exactly kind of what the World Surf League has just become, right? It's this corpo speak. We have to, our partners, we have to honor blah, 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 right? Instead of just saying, oh man, dang it, we have a number 3 in the world who we're basically going to, not competing in Portugal clips Moana's chances to even try for the title, right?
Yeah, well, honestly, I think based on the amount of points she's already accumulated, she's made the mid-year cut, but she might not even be included past the mid-year.
Yeah.
And by the way, Tia Blanco already lost in Portugal last night.
Oh, did they run last night?
Yeah, it's running right now. They're running the men's opening round.
Right now?
this very moment, men's are in the water.
I gotta go get it up on Beachgrip.
Oh shoot. Can you wait till we're done recording?
Yeah.
I mean, they started a few hours at 4 a.m. our time because they ran all the opening round of the women and the elimination round. That's how Tia got cut. And now opening round of the men.
Okay. Well, sorry about it, Beachgrip.
But so whether Tia lost there or not, it doesn't really matter. I think the one other option is, again, if they were focused on the main thing, which is the tour, and had a very precise focus that everything else funneled through, Jesse's response wouldn't have been corporo. Jesse's response would have been like, hey, the rules are, if you're a wild card, you get entry into one event. It doesn't matter if you win that event or not. And if you want to come to Portugal, you have to qualify for Portugal through the QS series. Hey, sorry, Moana, get in line and try on the QS series, and we'll see you next year in Portugal if you do well enough. And all of us would shut up and be like, you're right, the rules are the rules. But the fact that they bend the rules for themselves at different times and then shift the rules and then add a reality show that now creates a new rule that's going to undercut the rule that we've known all, like, it's insane.
Yeah, it's really, truly ridiculous.
Truly ridiculous. Okay, where am I in our notes? We got more listener line calls, actually. Are you able to publish that article real quickly? Because we could pause this if you want to go do that real quick.
It'll take me 5 minutes.
Take it.
Is that enough? Okay, I'll be literally right back.
Okay. Welcome back.
So sorry.
No, it's all good. I'm glad that we discussed it.
No kidding. So Beachgrip people would have been mad.
Kelly's getting smoked right now.
By Pupo?
By Sammy Pupo and Imai Kalani DeVault.
I just saw the for 2 seconds. How do the waves look? Is it kind of wonky?
It's a little windy, but ramps on the left. So everybody's going left, and the two young bucks did like full rotation airs to get 8-point rides.
Ooh, and Kelly did not.
Kelly is trying, and it's really awkward looking.
I did have a rumor on Kelly real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Apparently, from what I heard, the reason he's competing and doing the whole season and trying is he really, really, really wants to get on the Olympic team.
Oh,
that's his primary motivation, not another world title.
I like it.
So all he'd have to be is look at the crop of Americans, right? Like all he'd have to be is top 2 American. And that's not necessarily a crazy long shot.
Well, John, Chloe, and Griffin.
Sure. I mean, there's people there ahead of him, of course, but in terms of winning the world, in terms of winning the world title versus being the second best American points wise.
Yeah, he could finish ahead of those guys on the rankings this year.
Good.
And the good news is it's at Chopu, right? So that's kind of what he's focused on.
Exactly. Well,
I like it. That's the secret to success, is like having these short-term goals that you're constantly working towards. And I think that's a practical one for him.
Yep.
All right. You want to go back to the listener line?
Let's do it.
Brothers, gentlemen, C to the J. Hey, first of all, real quick, what made me think of it, I'm actually in my car driving back from Ocala. Got my spicy boiled peanuts. The grit just ended. And the whole sponsorship thing. So I was thinking, we were talking about vodka, trying to get another sponsors, and then Beachgrip always does, like, someone selling a house or buying a house. It happens normally to be in Australia, buy or there. But I was thinking, dude, what if the Hobgood team, and then that guy calling in the other day throwing the full gloss my way, I was like, wow. But hey, Lord, what do you think about the Hobgood team real estate sponsoring whenever you guys do some grit, stuff like that? So I don't know. It's long in the teeth. You don't need to play this one over. Chop it up. But yeah, that's what I was thinking about, and this is the only way to communicate anyways. Scales, Chaz. Oh, and the book writing. Book club. Genius, dude. All right. See ya. Over and out. Outro.
Do you have any idea what that was, or do you need me to translate?
No, I got it. Yeah, I love it. I love the idea. Derek is on Beachgrip, regularly reports on the purchase and sales of various beachfront homes, surf adjacent homes usually. For example, a recent one that made me laugh until I almost cried. I had to read it so many times just to enjoy, just to savor each bit. Did you read the Jonah Hill moving to Waikiki post?
No.
It is worth going back to read. But anyway,
Okay.
Jonah is selling his windowless monolith in Malibu, how Derek describes it, and moving apparently to Waikiki. But then they erased the part of moving to Waikiki in the Instagram post. And so, yeah, funny. The whole thing is funny. But anyhow, there's a regular feature on Beachgrip, and to CJ's idea, absolutely yes. These are going to be brought to everyone. We could even talk about the best or worst home sold.
Let's make it official right now. CJHobgood.com. Team Hobgood is an official sponsor of a yet to be determined segment on the grid.
Bringing to you the best and worst property. Who has the best surf home? Who has the worst? I think somebody just sold. Who was it? Oh, that was another guy.
It doesn't even have to be real estate. We could just discuss the best properties. You know, it might be an asset that somebody owns that is not real estate.
It's true. Like Joel Parkinson's wife's car.
Exactly.
Whoever owns that now is pretty lucky.
Exactly. So CJ Hobgood has listings from Melbourne to Merritt Island to Cape Canaveral. And who would you rather buy or sell a home from, Chaz?
CJ Hobgood, Team Hobgood. You and I,
Team
every time we go to Florida with Matt Warshaw, usually.
Not often enough.
There's every time, definitely not often enough, but every time we do, there's always conversation. I wouldn't mind living here. This ain't so bad. Right in the zone where Team Hobgood sells their houses. So highly recommend, if you're a Florida doubter, head on down to Florida. Just check out some home prices.
Anybody can afford to live there.
Everybody can afford to live there.
I can't afford to live in Southern California. I could live in a mansion in Florida.
Yep. And who would you buy your mansion from?
The one and only Team Hobgood. By the way, do you know who is on Team Hobgood with CJ?
Team Hobgood, I think, consists of his wife, correct?
Yeah, Courtney.
Yep. Yeah,
that's
Courtney
an all-star
Hobgood.
duo.
And Courtney Hobgood is electric.
Absolutely. She's probably the brains and the brawn behind Team Hobgood, let's be honest.
Yep.
So on CJ, Realtor to the Stars bucket list, would you like to know? I did some research on our new sponsor, Team Hobgood.
Yes.
CJ Hobgood's bucket list. He wants to become a pilot.
Ooh.
He wants to complete an ultra marathon, 100-miler, plus an Ironman.
Whoa, Siege.
These are good traits in a realtor.
I mean, that's what you want. You want somebody working nonstop around the clock for you.
on betterment of themselves as well. And then would you like to hear his favorite quote?
Yes.
Quote, the most important thing about a man is not what he does, it is who he becomes. End quote.
Who said that quote?
The one and only Benjamin Franklin.
Nice.
No, not really. Dallas Willard.
Okay, Dallas Willard.
How don't you love though the fact that nowadays dudes are shamelessly have a steadfast dedication to being a good family man?
Oh yeah.
Like the fact that that's the quote that CJ picked, and that if you ever ask him about anything, it's all about dedication to being a father and a husband. When I was growing up, that was not the vibe. That was not the theme. Everybody was trying hard to be a badass, and like whether or not they were ignoring their personal obligations in real life, they certainly didn't profess a passion for them publicly.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, no. I mean, I don't remember being a good father, good husband, but not being a wimp about it. Like, not because I feel that there was in the early 2000s, maybe like the whole Promise Keeper. I don't want to make people mad, but like the Promise Keepers thing, you know, whatever, like where we're going to be good men and do good stuff. There was way too much like spotlight shined on what they wanted to be and how they wanted, like how they were all of a sudden being a good father and a good husband and all that became performative. Where it feels now, CJ blasted a light on it. He just, as an example, CJ's just out there being a good father and good husband, right?
Exactly.
Where
Yeah.
I feel I know multiple of those guys now where it is, you can tell by where they spend their time and where they spend their energy that is the focus of their lives. But they're not like out with a bullhorn talking about what great fathers and husbands they are.
Well, it was the opposite. When I was a kid, it was, I know what you're talking about with the Promise Keepers thing, but the guys that you venerated were actively ignoring, I think, their obligations, or like Clint Eastwood, let's say, from Hollywood, just like this macho bravado. That's what it's all about. You never hear a mention about his wife and kids. If you research it now, which I have, he's got 8 kids from 7 different women. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's who we venerated. And even the athletes that we venerated all had a bunch of kids from a bunch of different women, and, you know, just were total philanderers and stuff. So
Did
I
you look into Tom
appreciate.
Selleck?
No, I should have.
I wonder if Tom Selleck was just a low-key, great family guy.
Could have been.
Yeah.
That would make
Like,
sense to me.
The ones, because there are the ones like Paul Newman, married
Great
forever to John Woodward.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But were the sneaky ones that you didn't necessarily expect. But yeah.
Good on CJ, our new sponsor, cjhobgood.com. I've seen, you know, we grew up in an era where Paul Newman was old by the time we kind of were paying attention. If you ever look back on footage of Paul Newman from his early films,
who ever walked the face of the earth.
It's remarkable. It's crazy how handsome that dude was.
Yeah.
All right, let's do another listener line call.
Hey, David, Lee, and Chaz. This is Matt in upstate New York. Just finished listening to the last episode where you talked about flushing the toilet and everything with your foot. I just want to say I work in a laboratory, and all of our bathrooms, the toilets, and the sinks are all operated with like foot levers, which is super cool. And I agree, it should be the standard everywhere. You should never have to touch any of that stuff with your hands. Anyway, big fan of the show. Chaz, big fan of your books. Can't wait for the new one. Keep up the work.
Boom.
The work
Problem
is being
solved.
kept up. See, exactly. If they can put those in a laboratory in upstate New York, can they not put them at my local Chevron station?
I think they're going to be the norm. I've seen them occasionally.
I have too, occasionally.
Very occasional, not frequent enough. And I think that they will be the norm in this post-COVID era.
Let's just hope. I mean, we should do a big public service campaign for it, just so we can take credit when foot levers sweep the nation, sweep the world.
How would it be if you were the one dude in the laboratory who doesn't know that foot levers actually have a name and they're known as pedals to everyone else? I mean, the fact that you work in a laboratory already makes you sound like you're really intelligent, you know, or like you're doing something pretty important, but you don't even know the word pedal.
But is it a pedal or is it a lever?
I bet he is exactly.
I bet a pedal does something functionally different. Like there's a different motion to a pedal than a lever.
He's probably right.
Is a pedal a lever?
I should never argue with somebody who works in a laboratory. Wouldn't you love to be able to say that you work in a laboratory?
Yeah. Woo-hum.
He didn't say what kind. I mean, he could be doing like making crystal meth or something. Yeah. But the fact that it's called a laboratory, I'm just like, holy cow, this guy's important. We could have some important listeners.
Well, I picture him going to that bathroom in like one of those white Tyvek suits, zip up all the way, slamming his foot down on the toilet. Like that's a good
There's
look.
a decontamination chamber before he goes in and when he exits, of course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Puff of air.
And if they're using foot levers, we should all be using foot levers. Absolutely.
Foot lever.
All right.
Really funny.
Next,
Think about Footlocker.
this listener line call was supposed to be a barrel or nah, but I've got other barrel or nahs that are better, so we can just discuss this one.
Yeah, boys, doing the work. This is Alejandro down in San Diego. Got 2 barrel or nahs for you. Wanting to quit surfing, which sounds insane, but there's also part of me that goes, I want to go live in Italy or Europe, like France, or just somewhere else very different that speaks a different language that has nothing to do with surfing, and be more like a normal person that isn't just addicted to the ocean. I'm sure some listeners will hear this and be like, what are you talking about? But I also know Chaz and David are both men of finer tastes and unashamedly talk about it on the podcast. So keep up doing the work.
Quitting surfing. Thoughts on this? Have you ever considered it?
I mean, like, yes, not quitting in terms of like here I'm living in Cardiff by the sea and I'm going to quit surfing, because that's silly. Surf is right here, right? It's a great thing to do. I love it. Blah de blah. Go on and on about surfing, the joys of surfing. But if I had opportunity to move to Paris or Rome, or which I hope to have someday in the near future, I wouldn't even think twice about it. Like, surfing would not even begin to factor in. Like, if I was asked to move somewhere crap that I thought was crap, like, if, okay, you got to move to, not that this is crap, and forgive me, anyone who lives in Kansas City, but if somebody said you got to move to Kansas City, then I might think, it's, it's kind of a bummer to leave the surf and all that. If I was going to move some phenomenal world capital, yeah, I would not think twice. A, B, I think Matt Warshaw literally moved, or I mean, this wasn't his whole thing, but I think Matt Warshaw moved to Seattle. The surfing historian himself moved to Seattle to get away from the everyday addiction of surfing, and now goes on like 2 surf trips a year, 3, or whatever he does. But like, surfing is no longer part of his daily life.
Yeah, I understand what Alejandro's talking about and what Matt Warshaw wanted to do, which was like release the addiction, but you don't give it up. Matt still surfs. And if you, and exactly. the funny thing is Alejandro picked 2 examples, Italy or France, where there's actually waves. Like, you can move to France, live the amazing life, and still surf. And they're adjacent to great waves too, in Portugal and Spain and elsewhere. But I would never think of it as giving it up. I think what happens as you get older is you don't need the daily dose. Like, I can go longer stretches now without surfing because I have so many other things in my life that give me a dose of dopamine. And then when I do go surfing, it's actually more meaningful, and it has a longer lasting effect than it used to have when I was going daily.
I mean, which I think also, once a surfer, always a surfer, right? Like, I mean, unless you really are thinking, I hate this now and I don't want to do it anymore, then sure, then you quit. Yeah. But as long as you still like surfing, you don't have to be like your daily, I mean, I suppose, like you just said, your daily practice is not what defines you. And others don't define you either. Like, you surf because you like to surf, right? And even if that means you've not surfed for 6 months, but you will when the opportunity arises.
And I think what Alejandro identified, I would be curious what his age is. I would bet that he's like turning 30, or he's kind of right in his early 30s, because I think we all address that quandary in life where you start feeling guilty because you're not surfing as much. And so he's wording it as quitting surfing. It's not quitting surfing. It's something that we all go through as our priorities shift through life. Another thing that he said was, to quote, live like a normal person. I would argue that is not what you want. And that is so highly overrated. And there's so many unhappy and aimless people. And I would argue that the unhappiness is directly related to being aimless. And so having driving passion in your life is possibly the single biggest key to success in life. And if that passion is holistic or athletic in the way that surfing is, even better. But it doesn't have to be that. You could just be passionate about anything, and that gives you purpose in life. That thing doesn't have to be a career, it doesn't have to bring home money, but you'll be, if you're inclined by passion and you're driven by that and you're wired that way, you'll be a better earner of money. You will be a better lover to your spouse. You'll be better at all the things. Having passion is what keeps the blood coursing through your veins.
Well, and I think also that surfing seems like it is so demanding in terms of a passion, right? That it has to overwhelm others. It's time consuming, and you got to be, it's sort of climate dependent and stuff. So you got to be always checking swells and blah, 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 blah. I think surfing can be woven into a beautifully full, rich life, right? Without being the primary thing that you're doing. Like, you can be passionate about surfing, you can be pursuing surfing. But I read some story recently about, like, I don't know, it was in some retirement magazine. I have no idea why I was even reading it, but some dude was talking about his high school buddies who retired in La Jolla, right? I think he went to La Jolla High School, and they were just surf bum, living the surf bum life, and how awesome that was, right? He went off and did something else. But this guy just took over his mom's house after she died and just surfs all day, right? That sounds like absolute crap to me too. Like, having surf be the thing you did for your life sounds unchill. If you like just take over your mom's La Jolla house and just keep surfing every day at, Bird Rock, then okay, that's great for you, I guess. I have more ambition than that personally.
Yeah.
Surfing is woven in there,
yeah,
but doesn't supersede.
Yeah, there's like I don't know who came up with the analogy, but a vase, and you put rocks in it, and you start with you can't put all the pebbles and gravel in first, because there will be no room for the big rocks. The big rocks go in first, and then the sand or the pebbles and the gravel fill in all the gaps. And that sand or gravel is surfing. Like, it's phenomenal, and it's a great way to add value and meaning to all the rest of your life. But you got to put the big rocks in first, which are, different for everybody, but family for CJ Hobgood, they are being a husband and a father.
And the greatest real estate agent this world has ever known, or at least Florida.
That's one of the medium-sized rocks. Marathoning is a smaller rock. All right, well, we addressed that for Alejandro. Alejandro, don't fret. Just reprioritize or reword the messaging in your head.
You're not quitting. You're not quitting.
Nope. Okay, bring us up to speed on the floods in Australia and how surfing is involved.
Catastrophic floods on the Gold Coast in Australia. Swollen rivers, dead cows floating down those rivers into the oceans, being feasted on by sharks. Surf stars Mick Fanning and Joel Parkinson using their skis to ferry stranded folk out of homes. It's like wild. Like, when I read the first story, and I was like, whoa. But then, like, the flood of stories that followed, I realized how, like, it is, like, way damaging and way serious. It's like fairly catastrophic.
It's insane. Did you see the imagery of the McDonald's?
I did. But was that real?
Yeah. Are
you sure it was real? There's so much, I have such doubt when I see photos now, as we all should. There's such a, like, abundance now of just Photoshop garbage that gets repurposed as real. So I'm not necessarily thinking it was fake. It just seemed like, if that whole McDonald's was that far underwater, then unless that McDonald's is like the only building in a sort of deep valley, then
no, it's that McDonald's is by the water, because the photo that I saw on a sunny day showed the water in the background. So it would make sense. It's at sea level, and there was 14 meters of water, which I guess is close to 45 feet. And so it makes sense. That's a 50-foot sign, and it's 45 feet buried.
I mean, but just like, McDonald's usually don't exist in, all by themselves. So what else was around? I mean, was that a little community that got fully buried, or what was it?
Yeah. And the other imagery was 2-story buildings where the roof is the only thing showing.
I mean, it's wild. It is wild. Like
it's hard to even fathom.
it really is. Like the first, again, typically, I suppose being a Southern Californian for the last 20 odd years, like I think of flooding as like a river, LA River kind of breaching and splashing into the street. And so then I read the first story about Mick and Joel on their skis saving people, and I was like, oh, it's cute. They're kind of going down the flooded street, but like the amount of damage and the depth and the breadth of that flooding is thoughts and prayers to those on the Gold Coast.
It's unfathomable, and that's why you and I can't even why we're trying to create some like a Photoshop scenario, because it's unfathomable. So this is what's a pretty epic story is that's happening, and those guys who have experience with the water and the actual vehicles, tinnies or PWCs, they're like, let's go out there and help. Joel Parkinson said, quote, "We probably rescued about 30 to 40 people each, as well as 6 dogs, 3 cats, and some chickens. We went to one farmhouse that I thought was a 1-story. The water was so high, but it was actually 2 stories. And I was jet skiing over their cars to get them. So their cars are fully submerged." He said, "We yelled out, 'Is someone home?' And this 4-year-old kid in a life jacket answered the door from the 2nd story. We grabbed him, his mom, his dog, and we got them all out of there. Another guy was up in a tree house with all of his supplies, waiting for help."
I mean, it's crazy. It is totally crazy. And yeah, good on them for getting out. They had the tools. Yeah. They went there. I was wondering that there was pictures of Mick Fanning ferrying people on his Red Bull ski. And I'm sure Red Bull, gave him that ski or whatever a while ago. How stoked is Red Bull for like the wonderful shoulder bounce they get from Mick Fanning rescuing people on his Red Bull branded ski?
Gives you wings.
It does. It's giving the people of the Gold Coast wings.
Water it totally wings. Does. Yeah. So the story that you alluded to earlier was that in the midst of all of that pandemonium, Joel Parkinson comes home to find his garage door open and his wife's car stolen.
Car gone. That's funny that I've spent, I don't know, probably 2, maybe 3 weeks total on the Gold Coast in Coolangatta. Have you done hard Coolangatta yards?
2 weeks total.
Yeah. So, you don't really know a place after 2 weeks. But the comments on Beachgrip from Derek's on down of just what a meth-addled backwards junk hole it can be. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry. Made me think, oh wow, yeah, you never know, right? At first blush, kind of Gold Coast, Coolangatta, all that seems pretty paradisey.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful, great surf, good weather. But yeah, apparently it's not.
Well, Joel, earlier in that story, Joel Parkinson gave a litany of experiences that he's had there, negative experiences, from getting bashed in the head with a bottle to getting beaten up on another occasion to, I seem like, getting in an argument with his girlfriend, the police coming over, pulling his girlfriend aside and saying, "Hey, do you want us to beat him up for you?
Yeah.
We'll rough him up for you."
Yeah.
Oh, that was Derek's story.
That was Derek's experience of living on the Gold Coast.
Yeah. So it's but it's kind of insane that during the midst of the pandemonium of the floods, there's opportunists looking for ways to benefit from it.
That's who you want on Team Hobgood.
That's what was happening. Remember when during the beginning of the pandemic, everybody's wearing masks? So people just start robbing places because they're like, "Hey, I've got a mask on, so I don't look suspicious wearing a mask into this place. I'm going to rob it now." And it's like, the world is falling apart. This business is potentially going to go out of business. They're struggling to figure out how to navigate this thing, and you're going to kick them while they're down. These are the dregs of society.
Yeah. Or the ones we need to be hiring and putting in high-powered jobs to help steer us to better times.
They're also the people running the banking system.
Yeah.
You talked about the WSL studio shuttering. We broke that rumor last week. Has that proven to be fact yet?
Yes, it's fact. I don't know how the Beachgrip getting out in front of the story affected their rollout. I haven't seen anything official from them, but have talked to people who have since been let go from that department.
Bummer. I was waiting for a press release or something, and they've never said a word. So I didn't know if, but then I guess, would you even write a press release about closing a studios?
I mean, I think they probably, who knows, they might have had something on the boil. I know that it was supposed to get out. Again, I published the story on Wednesday, and they were supposed to do something on Friday. Theoretically, it would have been, I'm sure, Stan, like the World Surf, after wild success with its WSL studios, the World Surf League is, moving to bigger, better things, or however they would have spun it. But once it got spun for them, I wonder if you just scrap the whole thing and quietly go on your way. I think that I do believe that the person in charge of any kind of content they have now on the site or as part of the property is underneath the tours banner. So
that makes sense, because they still need to produce lots of interstitial content for the events themselves.
But it'll all be there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Shall we go to commercial break and then we'll come back with True Grit and Barrel or Not?
Let's do it.
Hey, Chaz, not only does Athletic Greens provide you health and wellness, it provides you warmth by virtue of the sweater that you're wearing right now.
You want to know the only way that I'm sitting here with you right now?
The only way.
Woke up this morning feeling awful, feeling terrible, got a bug, don't like it, don't want it. Stumbled downstairs, shook myself up, and Athletic Greens, an AG1. Now here I am, being funny, being charming, supporting Vladimir Putin as he...
Yeah, go on. How are you supporting him?
As he unites the world.
Supporting his uniting of the world.
Exactly. And yeah, I felt a pep in my step as soon as that green organic goodness hit my lips.
Remember, I was talking about those building blocks with you prioritize in life. You put the big boulders in the vase. The Athletic Greens is also that sand that you add in to fill in all the gaps and power you through. It fills in your nutritional gaps and powers you through.
I saw an ad from Athletic Greens the other day, AG1, just yesterday, talked about all the benefits. We talk about them all the time here, but to see it in print, to see all the great things it does from, I think it's like good for your hair, good for your skin, good for your digestion. Man, I was thinking, I didn't even know how good this was.
Yeah, well, you've been benefiting for months now, maybe close to a year, and now you know. AG1 is what we're calling it, but it's athleticgreens.com/surf is our portal. I would like to say that they can go there and get merch, but I don't think they even sell the merch. That sweater that you have right there is strictly because you are a partner, but they can wish that they can get that merch.
They sure can. They can go on and drink it and dream of getting this merch.
athleticgreens.com/surf.
Do it today.
Hey, Chaz, welcome back to the show. I got an email or a DM from a listener this morning who had previously told me that they got that Outer Known catalog that you got in their junk mail. This what will end up in a landfill from a sustainable company. He just today got not one, but 3 new catalogs for Kelly Slater's Endorphins.
Oh, great.
So
Good
Kelly
job,
Slater's
Kelly. Kelly's in the mass mail business.
And not only is he mailing it, he mailed 3 copies to this one listener.
My goodness gracious me. Okay, this is another story. Kelly, world's greatest mass mailer.
Crazy, right? I'll send you this if you want.
I mean, the whole point of endorphins too is that they float and don't damage reefs, etc. But doesn't like dye full. I could be wrong here. I'm no environmentalist, but doesn't like full bleed dye on catalog? Isn't that bad for reefs too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm no environmentalist. I'm saying absolutely, no question. At any rate, let's go to True Grit. I've got 2 headlines of your own that I'm going to read to you. You tell me whether they are True Grit or clickbait crap.
Let's do it.
Quote, question, semicolon, is 2-time world champion, currently retired Brazilian Gabriel Medina a high Renaissance masterpiece? Question mark.
I would invite people here to go look at Gabriel Medina's feet, zoom it in. I zoom it in kind of. You need to zoom it in even more and compare it to I think it is his left foot. I think it's his left foot. And compare it to the left foot of Michelangelo's David. They are identical. Did you zoom in?
No, I did not. But just for clarity, this is a story you wrote about Gabriel Medina's left foot.
Yeah, this is a story about. I studied it. It's funny. I was sitting there looking at the picture of Derek wrote a couple of days about how Gabriel Medina and his sister are back hanging out, which they were not. Not that they weren't hanging out, but his sister is coached by Charlie Medina, the Gabriel's old coach, and so maybe some family rift being repaired. I looked at that picture and thought cute, and then was drawn immediately towards Gabriel Medina's left foot and thought, wait, I've seen that somewhere. Zoomed in closer and closer till I realized that is Michelangelo's masterpiece, the David.
Wow, that is quite. I mean, you were doing hard journalism.
I was. I thought about not writing it because I thought of it before Matt George wrote his seminal piece comparing Snapper X to Dante's Purgatorio. Which I don't think went over well in Beachgrit's commentariat. So then I thought, oh, maybe, but then it was just the similarities between Gabriel Medina's left foot and the David's left foot it overwhelmed me where I just had to put it up. So I'm going to say it's not, but I'm going to leave this one up to the reader. You stare at it. You tell me if it's not identical.
An Instagram poll is the right venue for this question.
Okay, let's do it. I can't do an Instagram poll anymore.
Dude, I meant to lead the show by asking you about that. What the heck?
Isn't it crazy? It's kind of crazy.
So what is the story here?
I mean, so Beachgrit had a Instagram account, 115,000 strong. It wasn't our, biggest thing. Derek and I would just do it for fun, but not once did we have a warning of copyright infringement. Not once did we have something. Usually I've had another account, Reports from Hell. Remember Reports from Hell back in the day? That thing, I think, had 180,000. And I would get repeated warnings of like copyright stuff. And I would always just claim that this footage was mine or whatever. I ignored it and didn't care, and it took months and months and months. And then they finally disappeared it. Seems suspicious to me that the WSL might have had something to do with it. But I also just thought, well, whatever, whatever. Beachgrit's never gotten one warning, not anything. I just logged on one day and it's deactivated, it's done, disappeared, deleted. Or so I don't know if it was poking Zuck. I don't know what it was. They
completely canceled the account with 115,000 followers.
Without one word of why or one like warning of you guys are doing something wrong. I have no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what policy they thought we were violating.
Insane.
Yeah, so, I mean, the fact that people think that they're in a public space of free speech, again, perpetually reminded, you are absolutely not. This is a, crazy dictatorship.
It's a business.
Use it, have fun, but also this is not free speech. But those who want can go to Beachgrit's new account, Beachgrit. It used to be Beachgrit_grit, Beach_grit. Now it's Beach.grit.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if, why even try to play the game? Why even create a new account? Where we should be transitioning all of our work is onto Twitter, where the founder follows and loves. Jack Dorsey tweeted out my podcast with Alex Gray a month or two ago, saying beautiful conversation. So he listened to that. He's tweeted out Beachgrit articles in the past. So we have a friend in Jack Dorsey.
It's time to get on Twitter. It's really true. I keep meaning to, but I forgot the language of Twitter. I guess Twitter does photos now too, huh?
Yeah.
So you could treat Twitter kind of like, yeah, it's true. I should just leave
you can, but you're totally right. there is a language that exists there. There's a, like a, I don't know what, a tone to Twitter that you really need to understand and know.
I used to be able to speak it fluently.
Yeah.
Building up Jamie O'Brien's, but yeah, I forgot it.
Okay, well, that's something to consider. The other question, back to your True Grit question, Gabriel Medina, you mentioned his coach, Charlie. Is Charlie the most successful surf coach of all time?
If Sister goes on and wins the title, then I would say yes. I'd say she has to win the title though to be official, to be Instagram official.
Because you have Glenn Hall doesn't have any world championships under his belt. I know that he's working with Tyler Wright, but I don't think he was working with her when she won her world titles.
Who does Ross work on the women's side?
Tati.
So I think Ross and Charlie Medina neck and neck.
Well, Ross would only have one because he didn't start working with John till after John won his first.
Yeah, but John has, I mean, sure, Charlie, I'm going to say one. He has two, Gabe.
Charlie got two.
Charlie has two, exactly. Yeah, I guess you got to give weight to more than one, right?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, Glenn Hall has a roster of guys who have kind of been in the top 5 and girls. And so that's worth something, but it's not worth as much as a title. If you're not winning the title, then what are you doing?
We should actually rank what a title's worth versus what a number 3, number 5 is worth.
Yeah, we have to assign point values.
Yep.
Okay. Well, moving on from that headline, I've got one more for you. Quote, surfing monkey reemerges as physical representation of great evils caused by marijuana use in shameful public service announcement evoking WSL's war against longboarding, exclamation point.
This one is such a mess. I woke up in the morning and saw that PSA for the surfing monkey and thought it was brand new, thought it was just released. And so I thought, oh, this is going to be my morning story. So went downstairs, found the video, was writing the story, and then realized that it was like 10 or 15 years old or something. And I was already enough in, and I was like, I'm just going to, the stoner angle with Joel Tudor and the monkey kind of was longboarding. So I'm just going to pivot midway. And so then I went and changed the title, just added, I didn't even erase the original title, just added WSL's war with longboarding and finished it off. There we go.
How was that article received?
I think it did pretty well clicks wise, oddly. It started slow, but then started building up. Yeah.
When you start anything with surfing monkey, you're going to get a lot of clicks.
Yeah. I think that I was really proud of it, to be honest. It was a work of bad, lazy art, like that goes deeper than just being lazy. Like it was where you realize you're doing something lazy and then make it lazier. And then
it takes actual work to get to the finish. So it becomes a labor.
Yep. And that's when you've really reached art. That one is, I'll put that as one of my best Beachgrip stories of all time.
Put that up there with the opening call today, the sing-along.
Exactly.
I'm just going to reread it for the fun of it. Surfing monkey reemerges as physical representation of great evils caused by marijuana use in shameful public service announcement evoking WSL's war against longboarding. That was a journey, dude. That was such a journey.
Yeah, it's real bad.
All right, let's go to barrel or nah. We will leave that there and go to barrel or nah. And the first one comes from a listener.
David Chaz, need your input. So recently went to Hawaii for native speakers. And I was, embracing the culture and started throwing up shakas as hellos and goodbyes, as one does when on the islands. And came back to the mainland, and I find myself still throwing up shakas to people. And I say people because usually it was just my surf friends or surf encounters. However, recently I found that I've been throwing shakas to mainlanders who have no idea what a shaka is or, its relevance to surfing. So to that I ask, barrel or nah, throwing shakas outside of Hawaii? See ya. Keep up the work.
Okay, this is the work right here. This is the actual work because this is a essential question in surf. I am going to posit that the shaka has become so diluted that it's totally fine to use it anywhere, any place, anytime, any context. I think most people, most surfers have before thrown ironic shakas and then slipped into accidentally throwing their ironic shakas for legitimate hellos and goodbyes. I think that like just the shaka is so ubiquitous. So many people throw. Eric Logan throws a shaka. Everybody throws a shaka.
Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill throws a shaka. So I'm going to say the shaka as a thing has lost its edge. What we can do, the question we are then left with, do we try to rehabilitate the shaka by regulating who's allowed to throw them, where you throw them, etc., or just say can't beat them, join them, and start shaka if you got them? And I'm going to go shaka if you got them.
Okay, I'm going to say we don't need to do anything, but there's a variety of nuance in the shaka. So Eric Logan and Jonah Hill are throwing, showing you the back of their hand with the full extension. It's like making a hard fist, like extending the pinky as far and straight as you can, and the thumb going the opposite way as far and straight as you can. Like shaka, biting their bottom lip, like, hey, bro, shaka. Whenever you see an actual native Hawaiian, it's a loose and it's often the front of the hand. You know,
it's
just
the,
like
but the pinky barely raised is
barely raised.
But see, so
like,
this is
I'm
what
gonna use as little effort as possible. Just toss it up there as loose as possible. Often the front of the hand with the palm open. You could see their entire palm. Loose, boom, shaka.
So the beauty of this, though, of letting the masses toy with the shaka is it gives the, like, imagine if Jonah Hill threw up a palm facing loose shaka, what a kook he would look like. If he was throwing a real Hawaiian shaka, he would look like such a piece of kook, like that he's never even looked up till now, right? Like
it would look like Zuckerberg throwing the spear.
Yeah, exactly. Got to know your lane with the shaka. So maybe they just get the tight shaka. You get the tight back of hand shaka. This is the
let them have it.
This is the new Val nerd wave. Like
they're self-identifying as a
Val nerds. That's it.
Yeah.
So the tight back of hand shaka, you're a Val nerd, and we needed to know, and now we know officially. Thank you for your service. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm pivoting in. I'm going to say steel barrel, but it's a great identifier.
And there's a lot of variation in between the two that I described, and they're exactly on this scale.
Yep.
It's like over here, as it becomes looser and looser and looser, you're becoming more like authentic surfer until you're full native Hawaiian.
But if you throw a native one, you better really, 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 really be Mason home.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've identified what's what, and I've surfed for 20 plus years. I don't go full native one because I'm not native. So I go just like a little bit of grip to it. Yep. Still open palm, still front palm, but I gotta tighten the grip a little bit.
That's true. There is oddly, there's more nuance in the shaka than any hand symbol you could do.
The peace sign still doesn't have as much.
Just up. All you can do is like start wilting your piece a little bit. Right.
And once you open the last two fingers, it becomes a different sign, kind of. It's not even a peace sign anymore.
The flipping off only has the varietal of like the tight all in, tight thumb out. This one, the one like that, and then like just a loose.
What about doing a front-handed one? Showing them the palm of your hand with your middle finger up.
That should be the new shaka. That's what we should bring as the new surf sign is kind of a loose middle finger front. Yeah.
Yo, bro.
That can be the white person culturally appropriated version of the shaka.
We're inventing it right now. This means you're from Southern California and you have white privilege. You go like this. Have you ever given a sincere shaka in your life?
I think accidentally, yeah. Like I think that the ironic shaka path to serious shaka is one that you don't see coming, And then one day you throw a real shaka and you're like, oh, I was serious about that. Oops.
Do you remember
Or
when
just-
you? Do you remember when it happened?
No, it was probably to like I don't even. It was probably to like a grocery bagger or something.
I have a very specific one that I remember because my best friend has made fun of me ever since.
Perfect.
And we were, I'm going to say 18 years old, maybe 16 years old. And we were surfing Newport Beach, like 54th or 56th Street or something, early morning. And I got a super long left barrel and he happened to be paddling out. And so he saw the whole thing. You know, this is a dream scenario when you're surfing with your buddies. I just stroke into this thing. And like, for whatever reason, when I was that age, backside kind of pig dog stance was the most comfortable position for me to be in. So I knew like if that wave came, that was one thing that I could do where I would like shine above my buddies. And so this thing came and it was a long runner. And it was like, I was just getting barreled for freaking what felt like 20 seconds, but was probably 5 seconds. Didn't quite make it. It tapered and got real small. So I didn't make it, but I kind of got pinched and just like came through the back at the end. And he happened to be paddling right. So we're right next to each other when we come up. And I just had this huge smile on my face and I gave him the front-handed loose one.
Oh yeah.
Just like, because I was full of glee. It was the equivalent of a claim as if I had made the wave, you know, but I was just like, and he just started laughing at me. He just like pointed and laughed. He's like, ah, he's like, he's like, that thing was so sick until you did that. You know,
that's a solid memory. Like the shaka that just bubbles up from deep within your heart and comes out.
As if I got like shacked at Pipeline, you know, or something. Like, but the funny thing was, like, instantly he knew how kooky it was for me to respond in that way. And instantly I didn't care because I was like, that was the sickest barrel I've gotten in a long time, you know, and you didn't get that barrel. So now you're just trying to make fun of me. But I've never done it since as a result of the shaming.
Yeah, that's a good friend.
Yeah. All right. Well, so we're going barrel on mainland shaka, but know your place.
Yep.
Okay. My final two barrel or nas are both grammatical.
Great. Love it. I'm an applied linguist by trade.
Exactly. And this one was actually used by you, and I never mentioned it. But barrel or na, calling it maths.
I mean, that's what they do in Australia, and I do believe England. It is not it is mathematics, which they keep the S on the end where we drop it off. So I probably wrote it in a specific dealing with Australia way. Like, I don't like to showcase your either continentalness or your Australianness in America. Like if you go to Starbucks and order a flat white and then, oh, I'm so sorry. I mean, could I have a latte? Like when you're clearly American, dumb. Using maths, if you're an American, dumb. But in context, if you're writing to Australians or about Australians, that's what they call it. What are you gonna do? Maths.
You used it in reference to teaching your kids. You're like, yeah, and then we have maths on Friday or something like that. And I was like, man, you don't hear a lot of Americans saying maths.
I might have been using it ironically. Bummer.
Yeah,
Bummer
I think you were.
Catching myself out, doing exactly what I said not to do.
Okay. I've never used it. I've heard people use it, and then I've wondered if I was using it wrong, but apparently it is a regional thing.
It is regional. It's regional to, I think, England as well, but definitely Australia.
But like with so many other things that are specific to England versus the US, I think they're doing it right.
Yeah, the word is mathematics. It's not mathematic. It is plural to begin with, and so they're keeping the plural of maths.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we just shorten it without thinking about the word itself is plural.
Yeah. Okay. Well, barrel then.
Yeah.
All right. Second one, using the phrase bruh, B-R-U-H.
I'm going to say no.
You know what I'm talking about, right?
Of course. Hey, bruh.
This has kind of become popularized, I'd say, in the last 2 years.
It's the equivalent of loose shaka.
This is instead of bro, this is instead of bra. People are using bruh, B-R-U-H.
I mean, it's the South African varietal, right?
No,
I guess
that's
brew more.
That's brew. That's different. This, I think, I think this has come from like the Black rap community is where I've seen this come from. I don't know where it exactly started, but that's where I first started seeing it being used. But now it's gone way past that into mainstream culture. So my younger brothers are saying this. I had two people very close to me in the last week who I love and said it, and it was so out of place for them to say it. And I like looked at them thinking, first of all, not only have you never used that before, I'm not sure that you're allowed to use that because it's specific to a certain culture. Or am I just so not with it anymore? I'm so removed. I have no idea. So Barrow or not.
I'm gonna say no, nah. Also, I'm gonna apply this to any new word that comes into the vocabulary. If you're over a certain age, be very, very, very careful about, not for appropriation reasons or anything, just for sounding like a kook. When all of a sudden you introduce a new word to your vocabulary, if everybody is saying this thing, right, or if this is culturally popular, you never said it, and you're going to start dropping it, just be very, very careful. So I'm going to say it's not always a nah. It is generally a nah. Sometimes you can introduce a new word into your vocabulary, a trend, and by new word I mean a trending word, a word that is somehow or has become popular. If you're riding a word bandwagon, it's likely very, very not.
You can get yourself into hot water from cultural appropriation on one side of the spectrum, or on the other side, you just sound like an idiot.
You sound like an old person who's jumping into the trend, like, oh, hey kids, like you do the skateboarding kind of.
I love that meme, dude.
Yeah, I know, it's the best.
Steve Buscemi wearing his hat on backwards, who looks like an old man, probably even when he was young, he looked like an old man, but he's got the skateboard slung over his shoulder, which nobody carries a skateboard like that.
Yep.
And he's like, hey, what's up, fellow kids?
Yeah. So, I mean, but that's how I feel people sound who all of a sudden drop the trending word.
Totally.
It sounds like, what up, fellow kids?
The thing that I always hated about bruh is it's harder to say, it's harder to write. The only reason why we ever shortened bro or brew or any of that was to simplify it. It was to say less syllables and it comes out of the mouth easier. Bruh is like adding back complexity to the simplified word. So it doesn't make sense to me.
And brew is only brew because it's a South African.
Yeah.
That's the way they say,
yeah, there you go.
So they weren't trying to fancy it up.
No.
Yeah.
All right. I'm saying full stop, no barrel on using bruh.
Yeah.
Please stop.
I agree. PSA.
Okay. Quick update. Oh, one thing we didn't cover, but we have to acknowledge it, is Mark Zuckerberg's recent claim of surfing 15-foot waves. Do you have anything to say on that?
Well, I read on Kook of the Day today, some Kauai local who said like he gets whipped into big waves. And this Kauai local was frustrated by it, saying, you know, if you have enough money, you can buy anything, which I think was the tone. Like it frustrated him that you could buy the safety team and all of it. So apparently, based upon that one message, direct message into Kook of the Day, I'm going to say I don't doubt that he does get whipped into some bigger ones. The fact that he can do it and does do it in no way lessens the lameness of him doing that.
Like, and of stating it.
You just bought your way in. If you would have gone and paddled out by yourself and started learning and then kept it quiet, and I found out way later or saw a picture somebody took of Zuck like charging, big outer, what was that, outer pine trees, what's that break called?
Oh yeah, I don't know.
On the reefs out there. If he was like out there on a bombing day, then I would give him credit. Going out tow surfing with the best in the business at doing that and getting I have a great friend here. Rip Zinger is his name. Awesome Japanese guy. Lives with Rob Machado a lot. Rob and Rip went down to Mexico a couple months ago. I saw this epic photo of Rip. He's like not a great surfer. He loves it. He's a great snowboarder, but just started surfing not that long ago, I think. But there's a picture of him and this Mexican just getting shacked. It's like a solid overhead, you know. And I was like, when I saw him next, I was like, Rip, that was insane. And he was like, no, I didn't do anything. Like, I honestly did not do anything. Rob picked the exact wave, told me exactly what to do, stepped me off in the exact right spot. So I take zero credit. That's not surfing. I just was there and it was fun. You know, the view was great and everything, but he does not consider that surfing, which that Zuck does not surf.
And I didn't see what Zuck is talking about, but I guarantee you it was an open ocean lull of a wave.
Yeah.
And if there was even whitewash breaking, he was nowhere near it.
Yeah.
And so a 15-foot open ocean lull is not even as scary as a 5-foot barreling beach break. You know, like it's nothing.
Getting towed into it too, or
getting towed in with a rescue team. That is actually the easiest thing. It's harder to catch a whitewash and go straight on whitewash than it is to do what he did. So I fully agree with you. Paddling in, one thing, bottom turning at the base of a 15-foot wave, a totally different thing. Getting towed in on an open ocean wave off the coast of Kauai doesn't even matter at all. Not even cool.
Nope, it's less. It is less cool than not doing it.
And then bragging about it. I don't even know who was interviewing him, but talking about like
Lex Fridman. Do you ever listen to Lex Fridman?
No.
Big podcaster, apparently.
But yeah, talking about it in a way that's like, he said, I do a lot of training. I mean, we prepare for this. We'd be dumb to go out there without a safety crew and blah, 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 which is all true, but it's making him sound like he's Laird Hamilton doing ice bath and saunas 3 times a day, you know?
A and B, it's dumb to try, like, it's dumb to go out unprepared for a 15-foot wave. Try everybody else who surfs bigger surf in Hawaii going out by themselves on 15-foot days. Like,
or a 5-foot day at any of those reefs.
Yeah. Silly.
You know? And he canceled your Instagram account.
Done. Thanks, Zuck.
Screw that guy.
Start hammering him even harder now.
I'm getting behind Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, me too.
So real quick update before we get off the air. In the opening round for the Portugal event, Jake Marshall got third in the first heat, so he's vanquished to the elimination round. Kelly Slater got third in the second heat. And looks like Luca Macinas in the third heat got third. The fourth heat is in the water now with 8 minutes remaining, and wildcard Vasco Ribeiro is in third after Jadson Andre and Italo Fajeda.
I couldn't have been more bored by what I just heard for some reason.
Well, it's because you don't have a survival pick in the game.
That's true. Who's your Portugal survival?
Kanoa Igarashi.
That's smart. Home surf for the boy.
Do you want to hear one more listener line call? I wasn't going to play it, but I've got it ready if you want to hear one.
Sure do.
Okay, let's hear it.
Hey guys, David, Jazz, I got an inside scoop. Yeah, this guy, Kanoa Igarashi, he's doing real good. I got a magic 8-ball here. I keep shaking it and shaking it. And I keep saying Igarashi's going to win. This whole thing, I keep shaking the 8-ball. I keep shaking it more than Tommy Lee shakes Pamela in this series I'm watching. I mean, really shaking it. Says Igarashi for Portugal. Igarashi for the win at Trestles. You know how it's, keep up the work and get better. Oh.
I don't doubt it. I honestly don't doubt it. It makes perfect sense.
I told you get some weird freaking calls, dude.
That was a good one. Can I do a quick public service before we get off air?
Yeah.
So the wife, Cersei Wallace, is doing her action sports. Sorry, let me find it here. The sports management mastermind. Sports management mastermind. So those who either are athletes or parents of upcoming athletes, it is a series starting Tuesday, March 8th. I think there are multiple hours worth, and they're with Cersei Wallace, my wife, who is an agent, Sue Izzo, also an Epic agent. And this time joining is Todd Richards, who phenomenal pro snowboarder and the voice of Olympic snowboarding, voice of a lot of stuff. And they talk about what to do with sponsors, how to build your athlete brand, how to stand out, what not to do, etc., etc. So anybody who has any interest in either becoming an action sport, an extreme sport athlete, or has a kid who wants to be one, there you go.
Sportsmastermind.com.
Yes, sorry, I left off the most important part. It's sportsmanagementmastermind.com.
Management.
Sportsmanagementmastermind.com.
Awesome. The other thing that we need to tease is your
Book signing.
our book
Yes.
signing / reading. I'm moderating it. It's at Warwick's.
Warwick's in La Jolla, 7:30, March 16th, just almost 2 short weeks away. And please come. I just want to see and hug people there.
Yeah.
All our listeners.
So the book is Blessed Are the Bank Robbers. It's available for pre-order everywhere that you would pre-order books, but then come down and hang out with us at Warwick's. And yeah, it'll be fun.
March 16th. Yes. Mark your calendars, 7:30 p.m. Don't have to come for the book reading. Just come and hang out afterwards.
Love it.
Come and hang out for the book reading.
Absolutely. All right, Chaz, great show. Thanks for rallying, even though you're sick. I hope that you feel better.
Thanks for having me, even though I'm sick.
Gladly. All right. Until next week.
Get barrel.